And I don't want her to sell it because we think she poisoned him. I'm almost sure she poisoned him.
I thought everybody knew. I'm sorry.
Don't tell me anything.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I guess the son is on his way here.
This is Ina Kenoyer, and just hours before this interview, her partner of 13 years, 51-year-old Stephen Riley, died after a sudden and mysterious collapse.
My husband's really sick. He got heat stroke yesterday, and now he's not waking up. And come on, wake up!
What's the phone number you're calling from?
I don't have a phone number. It's a phone that never got finished getting set up.
Okay. How old is he?
Send Evelyn. He's 51 today. Babe! Come on, babe! I've been trying everything. Ice, water.
Okay, but he is breathing?
Yes. He's snoring.
Yeah.
It's Officer Sullivan, Minot PD.
Yeah, hang on.
Came on.
Yeah.
I'm throwing my clothes on and throwing my stuff in the truck.
How you doing, man?
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
What? Get out of the way. Out of the way.
At first, Ina told police it was a simple heat stroke. She said he'd been drinking beer, running around in the summer heat, and simply exhausted himself. But what no one knew yet is that toxicology results would reveal Stephen had been poisoned with ethylene glycol, the main ingredient in antifreeze. Stephen and Ina had met in a homeless shelter more than a decade ago. Their relationship was long, on and off, and complicated. Stephen had struggled with addiction and jail time. Ina described herself as the one who stood by him when no one else would. She told police she was trying to help him turn things around, but Stephen had recently started talking about leaving. In the days leading to his death, Stephen believed he was about to inherit more than $30 million from an uncle in Ireland. According to Ina, he had a lawyer flying into town to finalize the transaction. Over Labor Day weekend, Stephen became violently sick. Ina told officers she gave him tea that morning. Then they went to meet the lawyer at the airport. But when he collapsed in the back of a car shortly after, she still insisted he was just overheating. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital. He never regained consciousness. It didn't take long for detectives to hear from Stephen's friends.
So what's going on with the truck?
He died last night.
Okay.
She said she's selling everything. I said, no, you ain't. You ain't selling nothing. You ain't touching nothing out here. She said you're going to sell everything. I said, no, you ain't. I said, because me and Steve, I said, all these tools are mine, and that motor in that truck is mine. You're not selling it. And he did. He was poisoned.
Good.
And she probably done it because she was throwing all this stuff out. Yep. He died last night.
What was that again?
If you just keep her from not selling all his stuff, everything will be fine.
Was it her husband?
No. They're not married.
You can't babysit what she does, though.
Right.
You know.
Well, I mean, me and Steve were partners in all of this. The motor's mine, the truck's his.
Yeah.
And I don't want her to sell it because we think she poisoned him. I'm almost sure she poisoned him.
So what's your plan right now?
We're making sure nothing goes.
Okay.
Nothing goes.
And you're not taking it?
No.
Okay. So are you going to stay here, or what's your plan?
I'll stay right here until make sure nobody takes this stuff. Because you know when they go to jail, the guys, people come and clean
Well,
out.
how long are you going to stay here?
I'll stay here until his son gets here.
Oh.
His
Whose
son's
son?
out of state.
His son? Oh, okay.
And he blocked her
Yeah.
because she told him that she was selling all this stuff. He got mad, and so and I found out a little while ago that he died. He's dead. Steve's dead.
Okay. When's the son supposed to get here?
He's not dead. I told you.
He is
Ah!
He's not.
dead. He's dead.
I just told the son.
And he was poisoned.
Not dead yet.
And he was poisoned.
Now, detectives were sitting across from Ina Kenoyer, listening to her version of the story. And while she tried to seem composed, the details she gave about timelines, symptoms, even what Stephen drank that morning, didn't match what others had told the police. She didn't know it yet, but her story was already starting to fall apart.
So, like I said, we have been just talking to everyone that had mentioned being around, like Billy, Russ, everybody that kind of just knew Steve, just to get an idea of like what was going on in his life, this inheritance, what people knew about it, and things like that. So you and Steve were in a relationship.
Yep.
Okay. How long had you guys been together?
13 years.
Okay.
Easter.
Okay. Where did you guys meet?
Homeless shelter. At an Easter
In
buffet dinner.
in North Dakota? Or
Washington.
In Washington. Okay.
Bellingham, Washington.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a little place right by the shelters that was given a Easter dinner lunch thing.
Okay.
Brunch.
When did you guys move to North Dakota?
He moved first to Williston. I guess the guy that was running the shelter on the men's side told him about it and got him a ticket.
Okay. For like oil fields?
Yeah.
Okay. So when did he find out about this inheritance?
I want to say 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
Okay.
But it could have been sooner because, days kind of run into each other.
So what is the inheritance? I know you had shown that first day Lieutenant Dake and I came, you showed us kind of that letter that was on Steve's phone.
Mm-hmm.
Is that's the inheritance? That was the letter? Okay.
And he was talking to an actual lawyer, I guess,
Okay.
from London.
So this lawyer reached out to him and said he's...
I guess. I don't even know how he found out about it.
Okay.
If he found out about it, doing a background check on him, seeing if anybody owes him money,
Okay.
back pay, lost check somewhere where he used to work somewhere. Honestly, I have no idea. It just appeared, and he showed it to me one day.
The letter.
Yeah.
So
And he wanted me to have a copy to make sure, if something ever happened to him. And he was reading that the money wasn't cursed or whatever. He's like,
what do you mean?
every single person that went for the Riley money over there,
Yeah.
even this 21-year-old, had passed away.
What do you mean? I guess the inheritance had been left for other people too, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, is it cursed? And people that go after it are dying? He's like, I don't know, maybe. I was like, well, then don't go after it. How silly is that, Just go get a real job. Don't worry about it.
How much money was it?
It ended up, it was supposed to be 17 million.
Okay.
And some odd Hundreds.
Okay.
17,500,000, something like that.
Okay.
But with all the properties sold off, it ended up being 37 million.
So there was cash and then the properties were sold.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know this was from a family member?
And I gave it to Brian. The paperwork.
Okay.
That I printed out to make sure, I have some, just in case something did happen to him, I could give to his son to track it down or whatever.
So
I gave all the
Who
information
was it
to
supposed to be coming from? Who was the family member?
God, without his phone, Marcus something Riley.
Okay.
I want to say.
Was that a brother or
uncle?
That was an uncle. Okay. Did he live
in Ireland?
Okay. Had he ever talked about Marcus before? Did he even know he had an uncle? Marcus?
I don't know.
Okay.
Honestly, he said he had family all over.
Okay.
So I honestly.
So the paperwork that you gave Ryan, didn't say anything in there about the family member or anything like that? Or did
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Ryan has all that paperwork now?
I should have it on his phone.
Okay. How did you send it to him?
I thought you guys gave him his phone. Steve's phone.
You said that you gave Ryan all this paperwork.
The property from West.
Okay, how did you... Oh, okay. So not this information on this inheritance.
No.
Does Ryan have anything about this inheritance? Does he have any paperwork on that? So what paperwork did you give Ryan? I was under you said that you were going to give him paperwork in case something happened to Steve, that you were going to give him
the property, that he was buying from West. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. When I had my phone, I showed Ryan.
You showed Ryan what?
Yeah, the inheritance.
Okay.
And what to look up on Steve's phone when you gave him his phone.
Okay.
Okay? And where to go to look for it.
Okay.
Okay? And Steve was buying Wes's property. And I gave Ryan the paperwork for that.
Okay.
Okay?
Gotcha. How much was the property?
What I read on it, it was 1,500,000.
So he was gonna buy that property with inheritance money, not now. Okay. Okay. And that paperwork Ryan has.
Yeah. But I can't even show you.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I don't know what the heck happened to my phone the day I got the job at the motel. This is the day I lost my phone. Or it was lifted, one of the two.
Okay.
Because it was in my back pocket when I was walking. And when I sat down on the couch, I realized it wasn't there anymore. So when I finally got to the apartment, I sat down. Realized my phone wasn't there.
So why don't we talk about the weekend that Steve ended up becoming sick and passing? What happened that weekend? What was he doing? That was Labor Day weekend.
Mostly drinking beer. The night before, he wanted to get a good night's sleep. But
he was drinking.
Chad.
Hang on, he was drinking beer which night, or was that the whole weekend?
That's pretty much the whole weekend.
Okay.
He got a case of beer from Wes and some food from the Max Food Bank that Wes brought him, and a case of beer.
Okay.
For his birthday. And then Link brought him a case of beer and Fireball for his birthday.
I might go back to the money real quick.
Okay.
he tells you, hey, somebody just reached out to me about this money, and I have a large inheritance I'm gonna get. Where was the money? Where was the money supposed to be? I guess.
In the bank.
Okay.
Whatever bank I showed you,
That
area.
Swiss bank,
Yeah.
Euro bank. Okay. So it was foreign. The uncle's foreign, and the money is in a foreign account.
Yeah.
And so how was he going to get the money? What was the plan?
Well, the lawyer guy wanted to give him to get a bank account.
The lawyer
originally.
Okay. So he wanted.
So he could just deposit it into his bank account.
Okay.
It couldn't be nobody else's bank account.
Sure.
According to the lawyer.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I can give you a few bucks, you know, because I think I was just broke my ankle working for Arby's, so I told him I can give you a couple bucks.
Okay.
No, I got my tax return.
Okay.
Tax return.
So what do you? And that's to put money in to open an account
For him.
Okay.
In his name only.
Okay. So he needed a couple bucks to open the bank account.
Yeah.
You gave him some money. So he did open a bank account?
I don't think he did.
Okay.
Because that's when the lawyer said I need to come and physically come, see you, to write over the name or whatever.
Okay.
Transfer over the money.
Did you ever hear Steve talking to the lawyer?
Yes.
Okay. Did they talk over the phone?
Yep.
And through message?
Yeah.
Okay. Was the lawyer foreign as well? Was he
English?
He was English. Okay.
Yeah.
Was he from England or
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he wasn't from the U.S. He was from somewhere else. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember his name? Did he ever mention
Richard.
Richard. Okay. So Richard initially wants Steve to open a bank account. Do you remember when that was? How long ago that was? Roughly.
I don't know.
Okay. I mean, was that like within a month, or was that earlier in the year?
Earlier in the year.
Okay, so it's been a little bit. And then
around the same time I did my taxes.
Okay. So springtime-ish maybe. Okay. And Steve, we don't know if he ever ended up getting a bank account. We're not sure.
I know he sent him all his information, his Social Security, because I ended up getting his first ID. No, I paid to get his birth certificate so he can go get his ID and his Social Security.
Okay. So he was going to be sending this lawyer all of his personal information.
Yeah, and Link was there saying maybe I shouldn't have said it was the Richard scam that's been going around,
Mm-hmm.
and he might have done it to himself, and that's what.
Okay.
I was like, but he just went through that with his dad. His dad shot himself in the head with a shotgun.
Okay.
And I don't think he would want his kids, to go through what he went through.
Okay.
But then I could be wrong, he didn't want to face the fact that it was a scam.
But there were still arrangements that this lawyer was going to come, right?
Yeah.
So he was still probably under the impression.
And he was excited to go look for a job even if he didn't show up.
Okay.
So he was already planning ahead for once in his life, instead of the spur of the moment.
So this
tax
time, he's supposed to get a bank account, but then maybe that changes, and then the lawyer says, I'm going to
yeah,
have to come
I don't
there.
know. He kept going to his friends.
Okay.
And talking through his friends to him.
The lawyer?
Yeah.
Okay. Who Steve was talking to?
Billy, Lynn, Kelly, and I don't know who else after that.
When you say he was talking to his friends, do you mean like for advice? Or?
No, when he smashed his phone or something or lost his phone, he'd actually talk to his lawyer through his friends' phones.
Okay.
Instead of an actual real lawyer, like I asked him to. If that makes any sense.
So you wanted Steve to get an attorney on his own and have the two attorneys.
That way they always have communication with each other, right?
Okay.
Instead of,
But
wondering
Steve didn't want to do
who
that.
could contact who,
Okay. So were you thinking like maybe Lynn and Billy and who else was it? Kelly, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you thinking that they were leaving out information, like you wouldn't know what was going on if they're communicating with the lawyer, and then Steve would kind of be out
Behind
of
his
the
back, maybe? I don't know.
Okay.
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
They're that type of people that would. Like I said, they're...
Were you communicating at all with the lawyer?
No.
Not at all.
I emailed him a couple times when Steve asked me to, can you tell him that I lost my phone or broke my phone? But the lawyer would not contact me back.
Okay.
Personally. That I'm his girlfriend, wife type thing.
Yep.
And he would like to contact you. Is there a way to contact you?
And
Through legal means, like inheritance lawyer or something here.
Okay.
But he never, all of a sudden the email disappeared. Like it didn't exist.
The address? Okay.
Mhm.
How long ago was that? Do you remember?
Pretty much when I told him he was in the hospital.
Okay.
It wouldn't go through Steve's phone.
Okay.
I told him, well, Steve's really sick in the hospital. I'll contact you through another lawyer.
Okay.
To get a hold of his sons. Because I know his sons were left most of it. And that's pretty much when the emails wouldn't go through anymore. It was saying it never existed.
Okay. Did Steve have a will?
With that lawyer, yes.
With this lawyer,
Jared.
Richard?
Yes.
Okay, so Steve wrote up a will with this lawyer. Okay. Do we know
where
where
he
the
would
will
want
is?
it to go to, and
Okay.
most of it was supposed to go to his sons and his two sisters.
Okay.
And then he left me a little bit to live off of, he said.
Okay.
But I think I just wanted a car and then give the rest to his ex-wives, because they seriously deserve it. That's what I told Ryan. If he left me anything, just get me a car. That's all I ask.
Okay.
And then give the rest to your mom and Cheryl, because I don't want to see it.
So, have you seen this will, or how did you know that there was this will, and where the money was going? How were you?
I heard him talking to the lawyer.
You heard Steve talking to the lawyer about it, making the arrangements?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was actually looking forward to bringing his sisters some of the money too.
Were they close?
No.
Okay.
No. But they were Riley's, for what he said,
Okay.
Was
it close?
He was gonna play a mean Ed McMahon game. Joke.
Oh.
Big cardboard box. He was gonna hire somebody to take a big cardboard box, saying you're a millionaire, and then give him $1 while he's laughing around the corner.
Oh.
That's what he wanted to do. That's what he was looking forward to do, and I'd actually like to see it now. I thought it was mean at the time. I was like, that's really mean.
So he was estranged from his family.
Yeah.
He didn't have a good relationship with them. Okay.
No.
So he was gonna play a joke on it, like a okay.
Yeah.
Was he really gonna give them any money?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He had the real check in his hand, laughing around the corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
That's Steve for you. He was trying to think of something meaner than the Ed McMahon game, actually. But I'm like, you're so mean to your sisters.
So the weekend comes, and how does it get to? Is it starting to be that the lawyer is starting to give him like a time that he's coming to Minot?
Yeah.
When was the first time he was supposed to come here? Do you remember?
I want to. It's 29th, I think.
Okay.
I believe. Yes, 29th.
And he was gonna fly to Minot Airport? Okay.
Yeah. But he got emails saying he wasn't gonna show up.
Okay.
That there's a contestant, somebody contesting it.
Oh, okay.
So he assumed it was his sisters.
Okay.
And then that's pretty much when he kept saying, I'm gonna show up at this time. And Steve would ride down there, and he wasn't there. And then you get the email afterwards that he wasn't gonna come until later and then later.
Okay. So he's supposed to come on the 29th. What day is that? I need a calendar here as well. That was Tuesday, the 29th of August.
Yep.
So then, when is the next time? After he says, I can't make it the 29th, if someone's contesting it, when is it the lawyer supposed to come back? Do you know?
We didn't hear, Steve didn't hear from him pretty much the rest of that day.
Okay.
Because he was supposed to be there at like 11 in the morning.
Okay.
Or 9 in the morning, somewhere around there. And then he said he was going to show up that, I want to say Friday.
So Thursday.
Because it went into the holidays.
Okay. So Thursday would have been
Yeah.
the 31st, or Friday would have been September 1st. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the lawyer says I'm going to come Thursday or Friday, and then what happens? Doesn't show?
Doesn't show.
Okay. No, did he email again, or just?
He emailed that he was going to show up. First it was Friday.
Okay.
And then the 3 different hours, was it 3 different hours? 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 8 o'clock, Saturday when, was it Saturday you got sick? Yeah.
Sunday.
Sunday?
Because it was a holiday weekend, yeah.
Yeah, it was Sunday. Yeah, you're right.
So Sunday, the lawyer, now the arrangements are, for sure, he's gonna be here, supposed to be in the morning at 11, you said?
Yeah.
And then
2 o'clock.
Okay. So did he call and say, I have no, why didn't he come at 11, did he say?
I don't know.
Okay. Excuse me, I tickle.
I don't know. Then it was 8 o'clock.
So then 2 p.m.
that was
came.
pretty much it.
2 p.m. comes along and he didn't show up again, or did he
wasn't
email?
even there at the airport.
Okay.
So.
And then again, and now it's supposed to be 8 p.m.
Yeah.
He's coming in. Is he coming in on a regular flight? Like these are?
I think so, but I wasn't the one directly talking to him. Steve was.
Okay.
I think he was talking through Wes at that point.
Okay. The lawyer?
I think, yeah. I'm not sure, 100% sure if it was Wes he was talking to this guy through Wes or not. But that's...
But not Steve. He's not talking through Steve?
No, he was talking to Steve through somebody else.
Right,
like
so
Wes.
how come he wasn't talking to Steve?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. That's what I tried to find out, when I emailed him and found out the email wasn't real.
Okay.
Or it wasn't discontinued, or...
So when we're talking about Sunday at 11.
Yeah.
Did Steve go to the airport at 11?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Wes's son stayed behind at the airport. Because that's when Steve started getting really, really sick. And I kept begging him to let me call the ambulance. And he's like, no, I'll be fine with some sleep.
So at 11 o'clock in the morning Sunday, the lawyer's supposed to show up, but Steve didn't go to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because he was really sick.
Okay. And someone else went in his place? What were they gonna do?
I don't know. It was Wes's son.
Okay. Do you know his name? What's his son?
I don't.
How did he know about the airport? Or any of them?
Because of the property. That's all Wes wanted was the money for the property. Because apparently, I'm thinking there's something really wrong with the property, like taxes, or he's getting sued really badly for sexual harassment.
When you talk about Wes wanting money for you're talking the property, you're talking about the radar base?
Yeah.
Okay.
And another small property. I gave Ryan that paperwork. That's the paperwork I gave him. And I told him to vet it, you know, get a lawyer and do the background check that I told Steve to do.
So how would Wes know that? Like, how is Wes gonna meet this lawyer? Because Wes has nothing. He's not Steve.
I don't know.
Okay.
So I was
did you ask
the same
Steve?
thing.
Like, why is?
Yeah, why is Wes involved in this?
Yeah. What did Steve say?
He's like, oh, it's just for the property. That's all he wants is the money for the property.
Was Wes trying to sell the property?
To Steve, yeah.
Did he approached him about selling it, or does he just have it for sale, or?
It's been up for sale for a very long time.
Okay.
That's why I wanted it vetted and background checked. Because when I did the background check, after catching him in my living room, when I was taking a shower, when I first moved in at the radar base and Steve was in jail, he was standing in my living room. So I did a small background check and found out he's pretty close to being a pedophile, rapist type thing.
Wes
person.
is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's pretty. He would have crossed the line if somebody hadn't been there, type thing, you know.
Okay. But it's Wes's son that went to the airport on behalf of Steve.
Yes.
Okay, at 11. And then what happens? How does Steve learn that this guy doesn't show up? That the lawyer isn't there?
Wes was sitting there waiting for his son to call.
So Wes stayed at your apartment?
Yep.
Sunday from 11 until when?
After his son called and said he wasn't there, he pretty much left. Well, I kind of chased him out. I was like, well, I'm going to give the property papers to a lawyer to vet, and I'll have Steve contact the lawyer, contact you through the lawyer when he gets the money.
Okay. So,
and I don't want to see or hear from you again unless it's through his lawyer, if he wants that property or not.
You tell this to Wes?
Yes. I said, please leave. I'm going to give the paperwork for the property to the lawyer.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell Steve
where's Steve at
to give you the money. If he still wants the property from you, to contact you through that lawyer.
Okay.
To have the lawyer give you the money.
Where is Steve at this time?
He's laying on the couch laughing that I was getting up into Wes's face.
He's on the couch?
Yeah.
And he's not saying
anything? He basically said, that's my babe.
He said what?
Basically, that's my babe.
Your babe? My babe? Okay, talking about you.
Yeah.
Meaning
because I was
whatever
kicking
you
Wes
say,
out because all he wanted to know is when the lawyer was going to be there for his money.
Okay. So how long was Wes at the house? Like, how long did it take for his son to realize that
we were there,
lawyer didn't show up?
We got back to the apartment, I want to say around 9-ish.
But this is at 11. You say this is Sunday at 11.
We went to the 8 o'clock appointment with Steve.
In the morning.
And Wes and Link.
Wait, but I'm still on the 11 o'clock in the morning one. You said that Wes's son went there at 11.
No, that was 11 o'clock at night.
Okay, I thought that was Sunday at 11, 2, and 8, you said.
Oh.
So you said there was a morning one.
Yes.
And that was at 11.
Yes, that's the one where he rode his bike to.
Okay, so that's not when Wes was there. He
physically rode there on his bike.
Okay.
At the 11 o'clock one. Wes drove us.
Well, hang on now. So Steve rode his bicycle to meet the lawyer?
Yeah.
at 11,
Yeah.
and then came back to the apartment and said he didn't show up?
Yep.
Did he say the guy emailed him or called him or anything? Did he get anything?
He said he got an email that he was supposed to be there
Okay.
around 2 o'clock.
So it got changed from 11 to 2 now?
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens at 2 o'clock?
Everybody's pretty much there.
When you say everybody?
Billy,
Okay.
Conrad, Link,
Okay.
and Wes.
And they're at your apartment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Waiting for 2 o'clock.
Okay. And what happens then?
I finished helping him get dressed. I put him a belt on. And he got into Wes's car.
Okay.
And they stopped at the gas station at Senex for some iced tea.
This is at 2 p.m.?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's when he started getting really sick and really wobbly. And I kept begging him to go to the hospital. But Wes, I guess, talked Steve out of going to the hospital. And it was just heat stroke.
So we'll just finish this 2 o'clock thing at the airport.
Okay.
So do they go to the airport?
Yep.
And what happens?
There was nobody there. I ran around the whole airport screaming, "Is there a lawyer here for Stephen Riley? Stephen Riley's sitting out in the car outside."
So you went to the 2 o'clock one with everybody?
Yes.
Who rode with who?
I rode with Link.
Okay.
And he rode with Wes.
Steve rode with Wes?
Yes.
Did Billy, because you've got Billy and Conrad too, did they go as well?
No.
Okay. So just a couple of you went?
Yes.
Steve rides with Wes. Okay. And who stops at Senex for iced tea?
Wes and Steve.
Okay. Is it just those two?
Yes.
Okay. And then you and Link, you just meet them at the airport?
We followed him to the airport.
Followed. Okay, so you stopped at Senex as well?
Well, we got there right when they were pulling out the Senex type thing. You know, they got their iced tea.
Okay.
Because we were a couple minutes behind.
Okay. So then you all go to the airport. Where at the airport?
We went to not the main airport, but the smaller one first.
Okay.
Because Wes and his son were sitting there. I mean, Wes's son was sitting there.
Okay.
Waiting for Wes and Steve. And said this was the only airport coming in right now at 2 o'clock.
Okay. And
that's when he passed out. Steve passed out for the first time.
Okay. Is he in the car?
Mm-mm.
He's outside.
Yeah. He was standing on the side of the car. I turned around and he's on the ground.
Where is that? Are you guys like parked in the parking lot or?
Yeah, the small airport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it's called the charter.
Okay.
Airport. I don't know.
Like for the private flights.
Yeah.
Okay. So Steve is on the ground. Is he breathing?
Yes.
Okay. Is he awake?
He woke up.
Okay.
After I stuck some ice cubes on. I stuck some ice cubes in my hands and I stuck it on his neck right here, and that's pretty much when he woke up and started spinning around, going, "What the hell happened?" And then I tried to put some ice cubes in his armpits, you know, to cool him down even faster, hopefully.
Okay.
And that's when I started begging, "Can I please call the ambulance, take you out, ambulance?" And Wes started saying, "There's a ambulance bay right here, fire department ambulance."
Okay.
I was like, "I just want him to go to the hospital. He's like, "But there's an ambulance bay right there."
Yeah.
Who said that?
Wes.
Wes.
Yeah. And his son was saying, "Oh, it's just heat stroke. My wife just went through it this morning." I was like, "Nah, that's not good."
So, there's an ambulance there, Wes says, but then what happens? He doesn't.
Yeah, we don't, I listened to to Steve and the other two, saying just take him home and try to get him cool. But Steve's like, no, we gotta go check the other airport first. So we went to the bigger airport.
Okay.
That's when I ran around the whole airport screaming for Jared, lawyer guy, looking for Steve.
That was at the main airport?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I was like, there's nobody there. I even approached a couple people asking, lawyer guy? They're like, nope, no lawyer.
Where's Steve? Where was Steve during
finally
that time?
begged Steven to at least go on home, sitting on the couch and drink some water and calming down, or getting some cold towels wrapped around him. Because again, I thought his son was right that it was heat stroke. But
where was Steve at when you were in the airport looking for the lawyer?
In Wes's car. Wes had it off, and I kept begging him to turn the air conditioner on and pointing it straight at Steve. But he kept arguing about leaving his car on with the air conditioner running. And he kept asking about the lawyer.
So that's 2:00.
Yes.
And the lawyer, again, doesn't show up. Is Steve getting emails from him?
I don't know.
Okay. So we don't know.
That's pretty much when Wes kept complaining about the lawyer.
What was he saying?
That Steve needs to tell him how to get they has to get a hold of the lawyer, see if he's coming in at 8. And I think that's pretty much when I told Wes to shove the lawyer up his ass.
Okay.
And we'll contact you through a lawyer if he decides to buy the place.
Okay.
But
so what do you think is wrong with Steve at this point? Huh? Like, why? What do you think is wrong with Steve? Why is he sick?
I thought they were right. It was heat stroke.
Okay.
Because he wasn't puking yet, and it was like finally kind of sleeping in and out.
Steve was?
He'd sleep for a little bit, and then he'd wake up, drink some water, go pee, sleep on the couch, wake up.
Okay. Was he complaining that he wasn't feeling well?
No.
He didn't say anything about it.
No, he just, like the last time he had it wasn't heat stroke.
Okay.
I actually called the ambulance last time he was this coherent.
Okay.
How long ago was that?
It was that, I want to say 6 months, but it could have been longer. But he accidentally grabbed on to a cup. It was when he was working on Jim's car. I ended up having to call the ambulance. He wouldn't let me, but I called it anyways. And he finally confessed that he accidentally drank some kind of fluid.
And that was about 6 months ago, you said?
It could have been longer.
Okay.
Could have been a year ago. Everything runs with my brain injury. Everything kind of smushes and
Did he say what he might have accidentally drank?
I don't know. I don't remember. It had to be on the medical records.
Okay.
Because the doctor came to me and said, "Did you know he drank this by accident?" I was like, "I had no clue."
The doctor said what they thought he had drank.
Not back then.
No.
No.
Okay. Okay.
And then that he accidentally drank it. Are you sure he didn't do it deliberately? Type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't think he's suicidal.
Right.
I could see him doing it on a dare against somebody, you know.
Where was he working on that car at?
In his garage.
Okay, the one at the apartment there?
Yeah. He was stumbling around like that. I don't know.
Okay. Is that the only other time that
Yeah.
that's something like that's happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, when he drank vodka, when we were living in Williston, I made him quit drinking vodka. He mixed vodka and water so he could drink at work. And he ended up passing out and smashing it. He cracked his skull open, put a big V in his forehead.
Okay.
I mean his skull. I pretty much put an end to that vodka drinking. So, it's the last time he drank vodka.
Okay.
That I'm aware of.
Okay. Oh,
I don't know what else to say to help.
yeah, she was just saying that about 6 months, maybe a year ago, there was a prior ambulance call up there where it was maybe heat stroke, but Steve said that he thinks he might have accidentally drank some kind of fluid from the garage while working on a car.
What happened with that ambulance call? Because they would know if he drank fluid.
Back then, I actually had Wes's vehicle to follow him to the hospital. So.
Okay. But did they find that he had drank any fluid?
Yeah.
Okay. What did they say? What was
the doctor didn't tell me what kind of fluid it was. I was like,
Steve didn't tell you?
No. So.
How would he accidentally drink fluid from
I don't know.
garage?
I don't know. That's what I said.
What was he acting like when that happened?
He was stumbling around, acting like he had heat stroke type thing.
Okay. Are you familiar with heat stroke? Have you seen people have heat stroke before?
Since I moved here, yeah.
Okay.
A couple times, but not really.
Okay. So I mean, I guess I'm just wondering. I mean, if somebody were to say to me, these are the signs of heat stroke, I wouldn't know. I have not experienced anybody with heat stroke. So I'm just wondering how you would know. Okay. How do you know all that though?
Control. I googled it.
Okay. When did you Google that?
The first time I ended up calling an ambulance.
So like 6 months to a year ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll mimic poisoning, I read. This time I read.
What do you mean this time?
Because the doctor said it looked like he drank antifreeze, or had antifreeze in his system. So I googled it, and it had the same symptoms as heat stroke.
Okay. When did you Google that?
The day he was in the hospital. The day he went.
Okay.
And the day when I finally got there and found out that
Who told
he
you?
ingested something.
Who told you?
The doctor.
What doctor?
I don't. Same doctor that treated me with my bug bites.
What hospital?
Trinity.
The ER doctor, or?
Yeah. He said it was just ingrown hairs and a headache.
Okay. What
But
this doctor's name? So if he treated you and Steve, you don't know his name?
no.
When did he?
It's on my paperwork at home.
Okay.
My paperwork for my ingrown hairs and little headache.
Okay. So this doctor, what does he say? How does he know that there's something that?
Because apparently he did a blood test by the time I got there. It took me about 2 hours to walk there, but I got picked up I was almost there to the hospital.
Who picked you up?
A friend of Steve's, an older lady.
So you're saying all this happens at 2, but he went back to the airport at 8 at night? Is that right?
This is the next day.
Right, but I'm talking, I understand that's the next day, but where I left off basically was we're at the airport still at 2. So I'm just wondering, Steve went back to the airport at 8 o'clock that night, 6 hours later.
No.
Steve did not go back to the airport at 8.
Wes's son was there.
Wes's son has been at the airport every time that this flight is going to come in. He's been there at 11, he's been there at 2, and now he's there at 8.
No, he was there at the 11 one.
You said he was.
No, the 2 o'clock one. I don't know if he was there at the 11 o'clock one though. Because I wasn't there. He rode his bike to the 11 o'clock one.
Okay. Okay. So I'm confused because I wrote that he didn't go to the airport because he was really sick at 11 and Wes's son went.
No. He rode his bike to the 11 o'clock one.
Okay.
That's why I thought he had heat stroke.
Okay.
Because he was drinking beer all day, he was working in the garage, he was spray painting his truck, with the doors and the windows closed, and barely drinking any water. And he rode his bike there and back, and I figured it just...
Okay.
They were right, that was heat stroke by the time Wes was taking us to the 2 o'clock one. Does that answer that?
Yeah, I'm just,
That's why I was thinking that his son was right. That Wes and his son was right, it was heat stroke.
So nobody goes to the airport at 8 o'clock at night, is that right?
His son, Wes's son was
Wes's
there,
son.
yeah,
Okay.
at the 8 o'clock one, waiting.
Am I wrong that I'm understanding this the way I'm understanding it?
No, she did backtrack when we got times off. She did come back and say that Steve rode his bike at 11 a.m. and then rode back home because the lawyer was a no-show.
Okay.
Got an email saying that he should be there at 2 p.m.
Everybody goes at 2.
Everybody goes at 2.
But I have an 8 p.m. here. 11, 2, and 8 p.m.
Yeah. And then she's saying that at 8 p.m. nobody went up there but Shannon.
Okay. What's his son?
Correct. Or yeah.
Okay.
Steve was too sick at that time, he was laying on the couch.
And nobody shows up again from the lawyer.
Yep. There was nobody there, according to Wes's son.
And Steve is not communicating with the lawyer at all at this point?
Yep.
Who is the lawyer communicating with?
I don't know.
Okay.
I was wondering the same thing.
Okay. So no one knows who's communicating with the lawyer, but somebody is because he says he's coming back at 8, and so somebody goes there at 8, right?
Yeah. That's pretty much when I got mad.
You got mad at who?
Wes.
Okay.
I was
And
like,
that's
I
where
don't
you
really give a
kicked
damn
Wes
about
out?
the lawyer showing up at now.
Okay.
I told him I don't give a damn if the lawyer shows up with the money or not. I'll contact you through a lawyer when I give him the paperwork for the property. And when he gets the money for the property, we will go through the lawyer to give it to you.
Okay.
From here on out. That's what I said to Wes. If he gets his inheritance. And I basically kicked him out from there.
Because when Steve was at home for the 8 p.m. flight, laying on the couch sick, Wes was there with you guys, and it was just Wes at that point?
Yes.
Okay. So after you kicked Wes out,
I started rapping. That's when Steve stripped down naked, pretty much.
okay.
Half naked. And started crawling on his hands and feet to the bed. I was like, babe, just let me call the hospital. He's like, no, I just need some sleep. But I ain't drunk.
Was he drinking?
Yeah, the beer.
How much do you think he had to drink?
Almost a whole case.
From what time to what
There
time?
was 3 beers left. I looked in the case.
And when you say case, you mean a 24 pack?
Yep.
Of what?
Coors Light.
Regular size cans?
Yeah, 12 ounce.
So he drank almost a whole case of beer from what time to what time?
I have no clue.
You don't know when he started drinking?
Pretty much when he got out of bed.
Do you remember what time that was?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
It was early. The birds were chirping and
okay.
it was barely daylight.
What time did he stop drinking?
Right before he went to take a shower to meet up with his lawyer with Wes and me.
At 2?
At 2.
So he consumed almost a case of beer in...
Oh, he can drink more than that. I've seen him drink a couple cases.
But on that day...
Yeah, it was a case of beer.
From probably 6 or 7 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, so 5 to 6 hours? Does that sound right?
Probably.
Okay. Did you drink anything else?
Just the glass of water that I brought him. And his tea. I made iced tea because he begged for iced tea. That's pretty much it. Glass of tea and a glass of ice water. He came in a couple times to cool off in front of the airport. In the front of the air conditioner. While I was working on the truck with Link, I think.
Okay. So you made iced tea?
Yeah.
And he was outside working on the truck on Sunday in between the airport stuff? Or earlier in the day or what? You said he came in to cool off and stuff.
Yeah.
When was that?
He was out spray painting it and putting spark plug wires on for what I saw. And
on Sunday afternoon?
Morning through.
Okay.
Other than him riding his bike, you know, that was the only time he wasn't working on the truck or out in the garage.
Is he talking? Is he conscious?
Yep.
Okay. What's he saying? Is he sick? Is he throwing up?
He just kept telling me, I didn't get drunk.
Okay. But you said he was drunk.
I don't know if he was drunk or not.
Okay. You said he drank
I've
case
seen
of
him-
beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't.
And he kept saying, I'm not drunk? Why would he say that?
I don't know. Because maybe he looked drunk? I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Was he sick? Was he physically sick, like throwing up?
At that time, yes.
Where was he throwing up?
In the tub that I used for his urinal. Juice tub.
Okay.
It's still sitting on the dresser.
But Ina's version will soon be challenged by Stephen's best friend's interrogation, Billy Burkhead.
And that top number there,
That's Lynn.
the lady is in Bismarck for a while.
Okay.
But she has on her phone where Ina used her phone to call the hospital.
Okay.
And she said, well, is he in the morgue or is he being shipped out in the ambulance?
Okay.
Now, why would she say that?
Right.
You know, but now I have that on phone.
Okay. Did Steve ever talk about leaving Ina?
All the time.
Okay.
Every day. Every day.
As detectives listen and take notes, they decide to confront Ina about this specific subject. What they're starting to see is a story that changes depending on who Ina is talking to. And that's not something you want in a death investigation.
Did Steve ever say when he got the money that he was going to leave? He was going to go anywhere? He was going to leave you? He was going to give you some money and be done? Anything like that?
He was off and on, yeah, when we got into fights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was he going to make sure you got money?
No.
Okay.
Because I kept telling him I don't want it.
Okay.
Other than the money you bled for me from making me walk in 55 below, that's what I made him promise me give back to me when I bailed him out of jail.
Okay.
But I didn't even want that no more when we got into fights. I was like, nope, I don't want it.
But you said you wanted a car.
Yeah.
So were you hoping that he'd at least give you some money for a vehicle?
No.
Okay.
No. I could put myself, I can, he knows I can survive without him.
Okay.
I have survived without him while he was in jail.
So, as far as money goes, I mean, I know we've talked to a lot of people, and everyone said that you and Steve, basically it was, you said, you know, you guys were basically married. You had been together for a long time.
That's what's, yeah.
Were you expecting that if something, I mean, you would get money?
No.
Okay.
Like I said, I would have given it to his ex-wives because they deserve it way more than I did.
Okay.
Because they were actually married.
Okay.
And I understand where they are coming from now. You know, because Cheryl stabbed him, I guess.
Is that one of his ex-wives?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's his first ex-wife. She literally stabbed him. Melissa won't talk to him at all. Put a restraining order against him.
Okay.
So, I don't know. But I understand where they come from now, you know. He's so stubborn and pig-headed.
Okay.
When he gets in that mindset, I'm gonna do what I want when I want, and nobody's gonna say different type thing. He gets into that type thing.
Okay.
I don't care what nobody says. But that's when he loses faith and everything.
Okay.
That's how he deals with depression. Not like, I don't think he'd actually kill himself. I think he'd dive deeper in like Billy type area.
So you don't think Steve would actually do anything to himself? You don't think he would drink?
If
something
he
like
did, like I said, I could see him doing it as a dare.
Okay.
You know, I bet you $1 you wouldn't drink that.
Okay.
Type kid behavior type stuff. Like I'm a teenager still in his head. But other than that.
Were you guys planning on moving out of the apartment at all?
Yep.
When was that gonna happen?
The second he got his money.
Okay.
That's what he wanted to do. Drop off his truck.
Where were you guys gonna move?
We weren't gonna move anywhere yet. We were gonna drop off his truck to his son.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were gonna go to Vegas. He kept going back and forth from Vegas to Ireland. He wanted to get married in Ireland at first, and then he wanted to get married in Vegas.
And so how do you know Steve?
Steve, I've known him about 10 years now.
Okay.
We worked on vehicles together and just about every day, you know.
Okay.
In the last couple of years, we've been, every day we go work on vehicles and do side jobs and stuff like that. So I know Steve pretty well.
Alright. How do you know Ina? Just through Steve?
Just through him. But I never had much to do with her because she's not a likable person.
Okay. When you say she's not likable, is it what about her is not likable?
I went over one day at their house and get my tools out, and I was leaned over in the truck gathering my tools up, and she come out with a big old knife and stab me. And that's when Lynn was with me.
Okay.
And she somehow or another she took the knife away from her and had her in a headlock.
How long ago was that?
It's been about 2 years ago.
Okay, it's been a couple of years. And for no reason? Was she just mad about anything?
Just mad. She gets mad at Steve. It's like the other day. I mean, the day just before he died, she was throwing his stuff out.
Okay, because she was mad?
Yeah.
Do you know what she was mad about?
Probably because he had all of us for a witness, because he's getting a lot of money, and she wasn't invited. So, and it's quite a bit of money.
So, in your opinion or your thoughts, why would Ina want to do this? For the money?
For the money.
Okay. Was she supposed to get any part of it that you know of?
Yeah, he was going to take care of her.
Okay. And she knew that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Did Ina know what he planned on doing with the rest of the money? Or in general, I guess?
He's talking about buying her vehicle, brand new vehicle. Me, which I told him I didn't want one. I said I don't want no vehicle. I said.
But Ina knew about all that though?
Yeah. And a couple other people, he's gonna buy him vehicles. He's gonna pay his child support, get his license stuff back.
Okay.
And that's the last thing we talked about. And that's when I told him, I said, Steve, you're gonna have more friends than you can ever imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I said, best thing you can do is get on a plane and don't look back. One-way ticket.
Okay.
I said, that's the best thing you can do.
Was that conversation in person or over the phone?
It was personal, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Would Ina have heard that conversation?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a good possibility.
Was it at their house or their apartment there?
Couple of times it was at the house, I told him, and a couple of times at my work, which all people around my work, they all heard it.
Okay.
Which they said the same thing. They said,
get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give her money, let her go, hit the road.
Okay. Okay.
I just told him, I said, I ain't never had nobody give me nothing. I've always worked for my stuff.
Yeah.
I said, I just couldn't take it.
Understandable.
I don't care if it's 27 million, whatever. I just couldn't take it.
Sure. Okay. Anything else that you can think of that we,
As far as the poisoning goes,
I looked around the garage. I mean, we could go over there and look through the garage.
well, we went over and did a search warrant and collected some stuff too.
yeah. So the garage isn't secure anymore. We had to break in there, but
Okay.
Yeah.
but we did do that the other day, last week.
Yeah, she broke in there before that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
As far as that goes, though, who was telling you that besides Lynn that he might have been poisoned?
Wes called us and asked if Ina would do something like that, and both of us said, yeah.
You and Lynn, both of you mean both of us? Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I would not put it past that lady.
Okay.
I got one other question for you. Have you been in their apartment?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When, I guess, I'm gonna assume, maybe, well, let me see here. How do you think, if you feel Ina did something, right? How do you feel she would have maybe done that?
Shoot. I'd say in his drinks.
Okay.
I'd say in his drinks.
Okay.
Tea, or could have been beer, but it's just all of a sudden, Steve's always been hard working. He always worked.
Okay.
And we're out in the heat. I mean, we're putting 10 on. Just the other day, like 2 days before.
The weekend was hot.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it was Sunday. We was out all day long putting 10 on and pulling the motor out of the motor home.
Okay.
And it was hot.
Yeah.
And Steve was fine.
Okay.
So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Right.
He was fine.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, I hate to say it, but I have that feeling she done something.
Yeah. All right. Well,
And he didn't know it.
Okay.
And would she do it? Oh, definitely.
Okay.
She would do it to him, she would do it to me. And I never had anything to do with her except for, a couple of years. I'd buy them cigarettes and gas and give them a ride to the store and stuff like that. Other than that,
That's it.
it's just.
Okay.
Did you ever bring them any cleaning products or anything like that?
No, she wouldn't use it anyway.
Yeah.
Steve would.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I've stood in the doorway of their apartment. And that's far enough.
It's about as far as you can get.
I agree. I agree. So, when you find out this is supposedly poisoning now, what are your first thoughts?
Tell me that again?
You said the doctor told you it was he was maybe poisoned.
Yeah.
What is the first things that come to your mind when you hear that?
This is not what I'm hearing. I don't know. This can't be real. How the hell would that happen?
Okay.
Pretty much those words were running through my head, and that's basically what came out of my mouth. Can you tell me that one more time, doctor?
Okay. And then what? Do you think of anyone in particular?
That's when his friend, Laura, says it's okay. We'll find out more when.
So she was there when the doctor said it?
Yeah.
Okay.
She heard the doctor say that?
You don't know Laura's last name or anything?
No.
Do you know where she lives?
No. I didn't know her that well, just the one time she rode her bike and she was overheating and she needed a place to cool down.
Okay. So after the doctor says this, then are you thinking, like, eventually, like, who could have done this? Who would have done that to Steve?
That's what I was saying. I was like, this can't be real. I mean.
Okay. But I know you had said to me you thought Wes or Billy would do it.
Yeah.
Why would you think that?
What would nasty people?
Okay. But what would they gain from Steve dying?
Wes, he'd pretty much lose everything, so no, I could see him doing something sexual towards him,
okay,
but not drugging him.
Okay.
Billy or Conrad, yes.
What would they gain?
Seeing Steve not getting his inheritance.
Okay.
Stealing his truck, because Billy's pretty much every time him and Lynn put Steve in jail, they actually stole stuff out of his truck or his vehicle that Steve's owned. Just before we moved into the apartment, Steve had a Toyota 4Runner.
Mm-hmm.
All that was wrong with it was the tires were flat.
Okay.
And every single part on that Toyota was gone.
Okay.
The engine, it was up on blocks behind the townhouses out at the old Raider base. The engine was missing. Underneath was missing, I mean, it was stripped. And he didn't even give Steve a week to come get it.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't even a couple days. We were in the apartment. He went out there to go get it. And
so what would they get out of it, though? Getting the truck? That's all they would get? And the fact that then Billy would, Steve would get money?
I don't know how Billy thinks. He's messed up in the head. They're nasty people, I'm telling you. But that's the only...
I'm not doubting that they're nasty. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to wrap my head around who
but
would
then
gain
again,
something.
I don't see him really doing that. I could see Lynn more, and she wasn't even there.
Okay.
She's more of the I'll poison you type person,
Okay.
than Billy. Billy will just wait until you go to sleep and then steal from you, right? Type person.
Okay. So as far as you and Steve,
so that's why I'm thinking maybe Steve did it to himself because he couldn't face Wes, his sons. That the inheritance wasn't real. It was a hoax. He finally realized it was a joke on him, or it wasn't real.
Do you think the money's real?
I hope for Steve's sake it was, but it was too fishy for me. And yeah, it was funky town, kind of like West in the property.
Yeah.
It's too weird. Ireland, Vegas.
Okay.
And
were you guys getting ready to move though?
Vacation.
You were getting ready.
Steve wanted to go on a long road trip vacation type thing.
So no, you were not getting ready to move?
Yeah.
Okay.
He wanted to put cameras in the apartment, security cameras from like SRT.
Okay.
And in the garage, and he wanted to go on a road trip.
Okay.
Look at property, look at houses. He talked about going to New York, finding my cousin.
Your cousin?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just stupid stuff like that.
Okay.
Go back to Washington, playing the game on his sister's, road trip. Just.
So on the morning that you end up calling the ambulance in the afternoon, what is Steve doing overnight? Is he sick? Is he sleeping? What's happening?
Back and forth. He wakes up having to go pee.
Okay.
I bring him the urinal. He pee.
So he's communicating with you. Okay.
And then I emptied the pee out, and I gave him the water jug at that point.
Okay. Is he drinking alcohol?
No, just water and tea, all night, that night. He doesn't really like water, so that's why I had to mix it tea and water, give him the tea first while he's peeing, and then I put the tea up and give him the water.
Okay.
And then while I'm emptying the tub of pee in the toilet, he was drinking the water.
Okay.
He could hold his head up. He could, hold the container.
He could or could not?
He could.
Okay.
Yeah. And he said he'd be just fine.
He said he would be fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just let him sleep a couple more hours.
In a final attempt to get incriminating details on Ina's side, detectives shift their tone. They confront the woman directly, and she stays calm at first. But when she realizes body cam footage recorded one of her lies, this happens.
I just have a lot of concerns here, okay, and I'm just going to be honest with you. You told the paramedics when they were there that morning or afternoon that he had been drinking till 5 in the morning, that he had been consuming alcohol. That's on body cam. Okay, you said he was drinking all day the day before and that he drank his last drink at 5 a.m. Okay, and now you're telling me he didn't drink. That's not what you say on this video, okay?
I want to see this video.
Okay, well, I'm not going to show you the body cam. I'm just telling you that that's what's on there. There's reports that Wes came to the house that morning and you said that Steve was at the walk-in clinic. He wasn't at the walk-in clinic.
Steve didn't want to see Wes anymore.
Okay, but Steve wasn't at the walk-in clinic.
He was at the hospital.
He wasn't at the hospital. He wasn't anywhere yet. Because
He was
it's been
at the
verified. He
hospital.
wasn't when Wes was there, okay?
He just left with the ambulance when Wes showed up there.
That's not what's been reported to us. Wes was there prior to.
Yeah, the timestamps prove that.
I want a lawyer.
Okay, that's fine.
Am I being arrested?
Nope, you're not being arrested. We're just talking. So, but if you want a lawyer, we can stop talking right now. That's fine.
But I'm telling you the God honest truth.
I
don't know what happened. I wasn't there.
Okay.
I wish I was there. I wish I was with him every second of the day that day. I wish I watched every single, but I'm not his goddamn mom.
You asked for a lawyer, Ina, so we're just going to end this now. Okay, we're not going to talk anymore. All right?
You guys are so unbelievable. Fucking serious.
Back at Stephen's house, investigators begin searching the property. In the garage, they found a nearly empty Coors Light bottle. Inside it is a bright green liquid. They also find a plastic mug with similar contents and a sealed Windex bottle that smells strongly of chemicals. All 3 items are collected for testing. Once the evidence was gathered, pointing directly to Ina, detectives decided to arrest and confront her.
I wasn't even out there. In the garage.
I know.
Please lock up my house.
Yeah, we'll lock up the house for you.
I'll give you the keys, but...
Yeah, we'll lock your house up for you. Is there anything you need?
Yes? Why me?
So right
Who?
So you get that, copy that and all that, and put down there. So right now you do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to have an attorney. If you cannot afford one will be appointed to you, and you have the right to have an attorney present during any questions. You understand? You want us to lock up your house still?
Yes.
Okay, where are your keys at? Will your door even lock?
No? You guys busted open after I offered the key.
When was it?
When the detectives came and talked to me.
Okay, so it normally doesn't lock though.
I was been out there the whole freaking day.
Okay, you are innocent, so proven guilty, okay? But there is a warrant.
Following the interview, Ina Kenoyer was charged with Class AA felony murder. Prosecutors alleged she poisoned Stephen Riley with antifreeze in an attempt to claim a share of a non-existent inheritance. Despite her claims, no legitimate documentation of the inheritance or the supposed lawyer named Richard was ever found. In May 2024, Kenoyer pleaded guilty. She was sentenced in October to 50 years, with 25 years to serve in prison and 25 suspended, followed by 10 years of supervised probation. She was also ordered to pay $3,455 in restitution to Stephen Riley's family. She's currently serving her sentence in the custody of the North Dakota Department of Corrections.